From heart-to-heart talk, her daughters. National Economic Council gives good marks to walking off recession. Security agencies alert personnel on reshuffling and deployments. Plus, sub-regional legislators back to the chambers. A very good evening and thanks for joining us on the NTA Network News for tonight. I am Fumi Wakama. The federal government has made a case for intermediaries from the United Nations in respect of the planned swap of the abducted Chibok girls with some of the Boko Haram fighters in custody. President Muhammadu Buhari, who spoke at a bi-national bilateral meeting with the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, said this is to demonstrate his administration's willingness to bend backwards towards securing the release of the girls. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who met Mr. Ban Ki-moon on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly, said getting credible and bona fide leadership of Boko Haram to discuss with government remains a major challenge. The split in the insurgent group, he said, is not helping matters. As he puts it, government had reached out, ready to negotiate, but identifying credible leaders of the group has become difficult. We will welcome intermediaries from the United Nations to step in. The president reiterated that the teachings of Boko Haram are far from being Islamic, as neither Islam nor any other religion advocates hurting the weak and innocent. Mr. Ban Ki-moon said the United Nations recognized the achievements of the Buhari administration against Boko Haram, urging, however, that human rights be upheld at all times to avoid a repeat of the scenario being witnessed in Syria. He used the forum to applaud the anti-corruption war in Nigeria, declaring that President Buhari is highly respected by world leaders, has given the country a positive image. The UN scribe also thanked Nigeria for her commitment to the issues of climate change, saying that the Sustainable Development Goals should also be owned by government for the good of Nigerian citizens. Meanwhile, some members of the presidential delegation to the United Nations General Assembly have been assessing Nigeria's outing in New York.
President Buhari has elevated the standing and standard and status of Nigeria in the eyes of the international community.
Outing is an excellent one. Mr. President presented before the United Nations the issue of Nigeria and the position of Nigeria and what Nigeria is doing, informing the world about the efforts that we are making, more especially to stop our IDPs migrating to Europe.
People really see the integrity shine through. They see the commitment. They see the passion with which it articulates the vision of a new Nigeria, the vision for transformation, and the alignment between that vision for transformation and the Sustainable Development Goals.
President Buhari's engagements with other world leaders continues. From New York, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Still at the UN General Assembly, Nigeria has been adjudged one of the countries in sub-Saharan Africa that has successfully keyed into the Sustainable Development Goals launched last year. This played out at the SDGs Summit, from where Gabriel Odo reports.
17 goals and 168 targets. The special advisor to the president on Sustainable Development Goals says the summit is meant to compare notes, exchange ideas, and really strategize on how best to make the Sustainable Development Goals people-centered and people-driven.
What we think is important to us is to prioritize in our own local way as we domesticate, so that we can start, and from there we leverage on our achievements, doing the baseline assessment to be able to benchmark progress.
We're the first state in Nigeria to assess the counterpart funding of SDGs in Nigeria, up to 1.2 billion.
Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Oyema, represented by the Permanent Secretary,
as most developing countries, the capacity to actually drive policy and ensure that they are implemented in a manner that impacts very positively on the lives of our people.
We are trying to see how we can key in into the whole 17 goals and 168 targets.
It is expected that stakeholders in Nigeria will collaborate between the federal government, state governments, and local governments and ensure that SDG is of the populace. From the United Nations headquarters in New York, Gabriel Odu, NTA News.
And still in New York, wife of the president, Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, has emphasized the need for the UN Agenda 2030 to give priority to health and well-being of adolescents across the globe. It was during the meeting of the Organization of African First Ladies Against HIV and AIDS at the side event of the UN General Assembly. State House correspondent Aliu Kabir reports.
Established in 2002, the Organization of African First Ladies Against HIV and AIDS (OFLA) is a platform to facilitate policies and strategies towards ending the epidemic of HIV and AIDS and to improve maternal and child health. This year's meeting, with the theme Improving the Sexual and Reproductive Health of Adolescent Girls, attracted the participation of the African First Ladies cutting across the length and breadth of Africa, comprising the First Lady of Ghana, who is also the President of OFLA, and the First Ladies of Sierra Leone, Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau, and the wife of the President of Nigeria, Mrs. Aisha Buhari, who is attending the meeting for the first time since inception of the present administration. In her address to the meeting, the wife of the president enumerated the challenges faced by women and children, especially adolescent girls in Nigeria and the rest of Africa, as well as the solutions to addressing them. She also explained to the gathering her initiative agenda for improving the lot of women and children encapsulated into her own program, Future Assured.
My Future Assured program has screened thousands of women in Nigeria free of charge.
She reiterated her commitment to continue advocating for the education of a girl child, which she said is a key to improving the sexual and reproductive health of the adolescent girls.
Should therefore provide accurate information to adolescent girls in promoting healthy lives and self-living.
The African First Ladies, who condemned in strong terms the abuse of adolescent girls, affirmed commitment to remain focused in improving the health and protecting the rights of the adolescent girls. Some of the governors' wives who accompanied the wife of the president described the meeting as an eye-opener.
It's a teamwork and it's a useful exercise that Nigeria will certainly benefit from, in particular for us, the women and children.
And I believe that the focus definitely will be on improving the situation of children.
We shall adopt more strategies, collaboration, and massive mobilization on people like the communities, the traditional rulers.
Given the theme of this year's meeting, the wife of the president noted achievements recorded by the African First Ladies in this mission and to speed up the mitigative mechanism in order to save lives of young girls in Africa. From the UN headquarters in New York City, Aliu Kabir, NTA News.
In back home, developing countries, particularly those in Africa, should rise and take their destiny in their hands rather than rely on support from other countries. This is the view of guests on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria as they discussed the United Nations' role in the promotion of peace, economic growth and development of nations. Musibau Dan Wahab has that report.
They spoke on the exigencies of issues of refugees and migrants, climate change, attainment of SDGs, elimination of nuclear weapons and a lot more before the United Nations, but added that the body seems overwhelmed with backlog of global issues. Meanwhile, some nations require timely attention to their plight. The guest opinions are in support of President Barack Obama's comments at the UNGA that African countries should now be interested in trade exchange rather than aid from the rest of the world.
Most of these issues are internal, self-inflicted. It is, you don't even expect the United Nations, no matter how you go to the global world, show them the blueprint of your domestic crisis. They can sympathize with you.
That you go to the United Nations, you ask for investment, they'll be looking at you as you're asking for investment, knowing very well that they are draining resources from your country.
Joining the conversation via Skype from the U.S., Special Advisor to Nigeria's President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina says President Buhari is now shifting attention to economic issues after success has been recorded in the anti-corruption and security matters.
One thread that runs through what the leaders have been saying was that they believed in the Nigerian economy, that it was strong, it was resilient, and they will encourage their people to invest in that economy.
And the president is doing a good job in trying to canvass for investment, but we also need to do a lot at home for investors to come.
In Abuja, Musbal and Wahab, NC News.
Elsewhere, President of Liberia, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, has urged political leaders in Africa to work together to improve the socio-economic lives of peoples in the region. It was through a video presentation to commence the second ordinary session of the 4th legislature of ECOWAS Parliament. Joseph Ork reports.
It has been first in using a regional passport, and we were also the first region on the continent to put together and deploy a peacekeeping force in a member state facing war. The same spirit must guide us today.
The Liberian president, who is the chairman, was speaking with regards to various challenges militating against the rapid developments of the region. Speaker of the ECOWAS Parliament, Mustafa Sisilo, welcoming parliamentarians to the session, renewed his appeal to them to continually educate and enlighten the people of the region to know their rights and obligations and how political power works.
Ending violent conflict and reducing poverty in West Africa remains one of the main challenges hindering the progress of the sub-region.
For in the current turbulence of the changing times, solidarity and collaboration are increasingly necessary in the task of building our democracies and securing them.
It is imperative for ECOWAS to speed up the integration process to enable the region fully achieve social and economic development.
Joseph Orok, NTA News.
And the National Economic Council says the efforts of the National Economic Team aimed at taking the country out of recession are in order, urging Nigerians to support the government. State House correspondent Gideon Ifade brings this and other issues at the National Economic Council meeting to us in Abuja.
For almost 5 hours, members of the National Economic Council deliberated on key national issues, especially those that would have immediate impact on their economy. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo chaired the meeting. Governors of Oyo and Kebbi states and the Deputy Governor of Ogun State briefed the press after the meeting.
The various members of the National Economic Team made presentations on measures to provide larger injection of funds into the economy through, among others, advance payment of license renewals, infrastructure concession and possible asset sales, use of recovered funds to reduce funding gaps, implementation of fiscal stimulus and budget priorities, fast-track procedures through legislation and implementation of strategic implementation plan of the budget, meaningful diversification of the economy, which will cut down importation.
There was another presentation which dealt with public-private partnership initiatives on affordable housing by the Honorable Minister of Finance. The highlights are as follows. One, that target of 1 billion naira fund to operate the PPP. The delivery target is to have between 400 and 500,000 housing units per annum. 4, the ultimate aim of the program is to channel funds from savers to borrowers.
Another presentation was made on best options for managing floating forex policy introduced by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Controlling inflation is key to stabilizing other macroeconomic indices.
That most nations that survive recession have infrastructure. They don't spend on infrastructure when they are facing recession. Unfortunately, we don't have infrastructure. So this is going to pull us down a bit. Above it all, the people in charge handling key sectors of Nigerian economy must be sincere with Nigerians.
With the support coming from the National Economic Council, it confirms that the National Economic Team is on the right track towards state. From the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
And from the State House, we take you to the National Assembly, where selling or not to of Nigeria's national assets was part of issues that featured prominently at Day 2 of the debate on the economy at the Senate. Waziri Zoyano has details of these and other activities from the Senate.
While some senators believe that only married-born national assets should be sold, others say even the obsolete ones should be revived and put to good use. Real solutions to the recession, some say, could be found by looking inwards with a view to using what we have to get what we want.
We should craft a legislation that will be portfolio-driven, so that when they are sending these ministers for us to be cleared, if it's Minister of Finance or Minister of Planning, then we'll attach their portfolio.
The public is not interested in rhetoric or theoretical prophecies about inflation, recession, exchange rate, or other terms they may understand.
The past government did that. They introduced Shopee to cushion the effect of the price increase. The same thing happened during Abacha government. He introduced PTF. But today, the increase from 87 to 145, nothing given to the people.
We need to sit together with the executive to find lasting solutions to our predicaments.
Demand and supply.
Recession.
I want to accelerate.
Colleagues,
The right, whether we are.
Everybody's afraid that something terrible will happen to them. And as long as you have fear in the system, you will not invest your money in that economy.
I believe that we need to take an immediate interest and action by engaging holders in the Niger Delta.
Once Mr. President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria comes back from New York, he should be advised to undertake a nationwide broadcast where he will explain to Nigerians the situation that we are in and the efforts the federal government is making.
We seem to have had some audio challenges at the beginning of that report, but still staying at the National Assembly as part of measures to pull Nigeria out of the present economic situation. The House of Representatives has urged the executive to revitalize all industrial projects across the country. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Ungwo reports.
Attempts by past administrations to build a strong industrial base for Nigeria are yet to come to fruition. But with the current economic challenge of the country, members of the House of Representatives believe that the rejuvenation of such projects will produce a significant recovery measure. This came in a motion by Representative Chris Azubogu from Anambra State.
This includes, but not limited to, the following: the iron and steel plant in Ajokuta, the steel rolling mills in Alaja. The real sector of the economy is production and manufacturing.
Members who spoke on the economy stressed the need to fully tap the solid mineral sector, revisit interest rates, and reduce states' reliance on the federal government. Members also sought for Senate concurrence for the President to brief legislators on the state of the economy, as a committee will be constituted to interface with the Senate. The House also resolved to investigate alleged $17 billion missing from sales of crude oil and liquefied natural gas exports between 2011 and 2014, as moved by Representative Johnson Abonyiman from Edo State.
That over $17 billion $70 billion can do a lot for this country at this critical time. That is in the hands of some few cabals.
So it's a matter of investing $5 million, getting a report which indicts so many companies, and then no recovery has since been made.
A minute silence was observed to honor 3 former members that died recently. Ime Ebat from Akwa Ibom State, Tom Ebuwoku from Delta State, and Agege Ejiga from Benue State. Thereafter, the Chairman House Committee on Media and Public Affairs, Abdurazak Namdas, in a briefing, stated the position of the House on the economy.
Joint sitting of the National Assembly so that the President will be able to share with Nigerians the real pains in this recession.
Representative Abdurazak Namdas was emphatic that the state of the economy remains the major concern of the House of Representatives at this moment. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
An inter-ministerial task force has been established by President Muhammadu Buhari to coordinate response and work with humanitarian agencies to support the government and other structures on humanitarian assistance in the affected northeast states. In the arrangement, each sector will now be led by a minister, while the entire task force is led by the Minister of Budget and National Planning, which will now coordinate and mobilize the domestic, governmental and private sector resources needed to effectively meet the challenges. A statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Laolu Akonde, says the National Security Advisor to the President, the Chief of Army Staff, National Emergency Management Agency, and the Presidential Committee on Northeast Intervention will actively be involved in the new and elevated response model approved by the President. And to security matters, the Nigerian Army Council has approved the establishment of a new brigade in Makurdi, Benue State. Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Chukwu Buratai, who announced this in Makurdi, said the brigade is expected to enhance security and further curtail attacks by criminals in the state. He stressed the commitment of the Army in maintaining civil-military relations while dealing with the menace of criminal elements in the state. Similarly, at the end of the combined second and third quarter 2016 Chief of Army Staff Conference held in Makurdi, the Army boss promised to improve the welfare of officers and men of the Nigerian Army. He noted that while Boko Haram in the northeast has been degraded, armed robbery and kidnapping in South-South is being addressed squarely. And still staying with the military, the Nigerian Air Force has commenced the rotation of its troops on special operations across the country. Defense correspondent Isaac Nkoma, who was in Kaduna for another assignment, caught up with the troops before they were airlifted.
These are troops from the Nigerian Air Force Training Command, which includes Kaduna and Kano. They are being taken to Jos for the internal security operations on the plateau, codenamed Operation Safe Haven, to take over from their colleagues who have spent over 6 months there.
We started this rotation on Monday, and we rotated troops in Port Harcourt, Calabar, in Warri, Yenogwa. We've taken them to Jos and brought those ones back. We also rotated troops in Sokoto and in Kano.
The Nigerian Air Force authorities say this is to boost the morale of the soldiers.
The Chief of Air Staff has deemed it fit that the troops should not stay in the operation area for more than 6 months, maximum 1 year, so that at least they are reunited with their families.
Similar rotation had been carried out some months ago for troops in Maiduguri and Yola. From Kaduna, Isaac Nkuma, NTA News.
The Nigerian Police Force is to restructure its special units to focus on protecting the state rather than have them assigned to persons. Inspector General of Police Ibrahim Idris stated this at a meeting with commanders of various police special units across the Federation. Edino Justice has details.
Among the security challenges facing the country are insurgency in the north, militancy in the south, kidnapping and other violent crimes. The IGP says the reorganization of these police units will be for improved training and training institutions, armament, logistics, as well as welfare for optimum performance.
Because henceforth, and I mean it, we are going to stop deploying mobile for the protection of individuals. Yours is just to provide as a striking unit of this of the police. We are also planning to establish a marine police training school in Bayelsa State
to enable us to dominate the crease of the Niger Delta. In areas of armament, the special police units have the capability to be above the conventional police units and below the capacity of the military.
He therefore warned them on adherence to discipline, police core values, and democratic policing as an escort will be set up to monitor them. It was first meeting with commanders of the unit comprising police mobile force, counter-terrorism, and special protection. Aiding of Justice, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the police force headquarters recorded another breakthrough with the arrest of 4 suspected killers of late Reverend Father John Ade in Benue State. Here again is Aiding of Justice.
At the parade, First Public Relations Officer and Deputy Commissioner of Police Don Awona said the suspected killers of Reverend Father Ade in Otukpa, aged between 26 and 30, were arrested following a thorough investigation.
We recovered exhibits from them, 3 locally fabricated guns, a Nokia Lumia phone belonging to the late Reverend Father. They confessed to be the gang responsible for the kidnap and gruesome murder of the Reverend Father.
Let me salute the police force generally for this very wonderful feat they have achieved, and to extend the government's gratitude and appreciation.
Parading the 19 suspected pipeline vendors, DCP Awona said the IGP Special Task Force on Pipelines and Illegal Bunkering followed intelligence and arrested the suspects in Kirikiri area and Ijora Olokpa area, all in Lagos State. In the same vein, 3 suspects of an 8-member gang of a cyber crime club known as the Monitoring Boys, led by a graduate of Anambra State University, Uli, were arrested in Ihiala, Anambra State. They specialize in hacking Facebook accounts, including that of the police. Aiding of Justice, NTA News.
You can watch this news live online via the NTA mobile app, which you can download on your Android device at the Google Play Store or at the Apple Store if you use devices with iOS. You're still watching NTA Network News. Federal media agencies explain their revenue-generating efforts to House members. These and more when we come back.
When has it reached this? Much less this. And this. And this. And this. Help reclaim our Commonwealth. Lend your support to the fight against corruption for a better Nigeria.
A famous boxer once said, "The fight is won long before you step into the ring." It takes massive investment, dedication, planning, and during fierce competition, never backing down. In 2005, Glow invested in the world's only privately owned undersea data cable, then connected this to its extensive fiber optic network throughout Nigeria, which seamlessly delivers flexible and affordable data plans for everyone, making Glow Nigeria's largest data network in new subscriptions. You see, it's not what you step into the ring with that makes you the master. It's everything you did to get you there. Enjoy our new data overload. Double your data on every plan, like 6 gigabytes for 2,000 naira, 12 gigabytes for 3,000 naira, and 24 gigabytes for 5,000 naira. Dial *777# to select a plan. The largest data network. Glow, Grandmasters of Data.
Get ready to move on up with EcoBank. Easy access to your account wherever you are in the world. More ATMs across Africa than any other bank, so there's always one closer to you. The freedom to pay with a card instead of cash. To bank with your mobile anytime, anywhere. Or send money thousands of miles in a flash. Plus, smart ways to save and invest so your children can move on up too. And trust EcoBank to help with the things that matter most. Visit us online today and move on up with EcoBank, the Pan-African bank.
Bayes University Abuja offers world-class education, uninterrupted academic session, and promising degrees for a sustainable job. Bayes University Abuja is affordable and delivers quality with experienced international staff, superb facilities, overseas external examiners, and a serene academic atmosphere. We offer quality and affordable education, and students are within easy reach of their parents here at Bayes University Abuja. So learn to live at Bayes University for a brighter future. For more information, visit our website at www.bayesuniversity.edu.ng or call 081 3376 9657 or 081 3376 9658. Bayes University Abuja. Learn to live.
Why don't you people sell imported materials here? As beautiful as the shop is.
Auntie, buying foreign goods does not help our economy. Neither does it boost local production. And the good thing is Nigerian-made products are high quality. Really? And to make Nigeria great again, that is why I only sell made in Nigeria products. Because change begins with me.
I'm convinced. Change begins with me too, huh?
Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
If we have lost the opportunity of 15 years, let us no longer lose any opportunity for the future. Our alternative is agriculture immediately and solid minerals.
We should be appreciative of the president who has again diverted attention to this issue of agriculture.
The present administration is determined to go back to planning, identify priorities beforehand. When money comes, it is applied to that purpose. And you can see the results.
We are determined to rehabilitate our country, especially for our children and our grandchildren.
You're still watching the NTA Network News, and we're reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. Directors General of the Nigerian Television Authority, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, News Agency of Nigeria, and the National Broadcasting Commission have defended their 2016 budget in respect of internally generated revenue before the House Committee on Information. National Assembly correspondent Dennis Adegoloye reports that this is with a view to assessing progress in the implementation of their projections in line with the Fiscal Responsibility Act.
The NTA has a 2016 IGR projection of 5 billion naira, 1.2 billion naira of which has been referred to federal government coffers as commercial revenue, while the remaining 3.7 billion naira has been injected into priority areas such as transmission costs and marketing efforts. It has a surplus of 1.2 million naira. With a projected IGR of 132 million naira for 2016, the News Agency of Nigeria has generated 82 million naira with a shortfall of 50 million naira. The Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria has a projection of 2.3 billion naira and so far is 863 million naira short of this target. The National Broadcasting Commission has a 30 billion naira projection with a balance of 850 million naira.
The heads of the parastatals, while acknowledging the shortfalls in implementation of the 2016 budget projections, however, outlined specific plans in maximizing opportunities come the end of the year.
The strength of ATA lies in the aggregate strength of the zonal centers and the state capital stations. So we are now making serious efforts to bring all the zonal centers up, to bring all the production centers up.
We're thinking of doing a very big process of content development with young people.
This will give end to the crisis of budgetary problem.
Further presentations are expected to be brought before the Committee for Legislative Action. From the National Assembly, Dennis Adegunloye, NTA News.
Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has congratulated King Sunny Ade on his 70th birthday, describing him as a cultural icon and a trailblazer. In a statement by Special Assistant Segun Adeyemi, the minister hailed the music maestro's contribution to the growth of Nigerian music, which is fast becoming a global brand, crediting him and other musical stars of his generation for charting the path for today's generation of younger musicians. Lai Mohammed said it is particularly delightful that in spite of his age, he has reinforced his position as a cultural ambassador to project a positive image for the country over the years. The minister prayed God to grant him many more years in good health to continue to be a source of inspiration to aspiring music artists and Nigerian youth. The Nigerian Air Force says it has keyed into the present administration's economic diversification policy in promoting agricultural practices in all its formations. Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, said this while inaugurating the Barracks Youth Empowerment through Agriculture program at the Nigerian Air Force Base, Makurdi. Defense correspondent Isaac Nkuma reports.
I will be going to school in the morning. Why going to find in the evening? Is that possible? Yes, Daddy.
With the scarcity of white-collar jobs and the dwindling economy in Nigeria, agriculture is the in thing. Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar says with the acres of land available around NAV bases nationwide, the youths, if properly engaged, can assist in meeting the basic food needs of its immediate environment and contribute to the nation's economy.
Today's youths are full of energy. It's either you direct that energy to where it is required for development of society, or they will direct it to where they want it to go.
This is expected to also encourage our personnel to continue to do their best in their assigned tasks.
This set, comprising 150 dependents of NAV personnel in Makurdi, will be trained in poultry, fishery and crop farming.
We are looking forward to see everything good, as in to push Nigerian economy bigger.
The Chief of Air Staff also inaugurated some completed projects within the NAV base Makurdi, comprising fighter pilots officers' quarters, 20 studio apartments for the newly established Air War College students, and a gymnasium for the entire base community. Former Air Officer Commanding Air Tactical Command Makurdi, Air Vice Marshal Olushola Babalola, was the special guest of honor at the occasion. From Makurdi, Isaac Nkuma, NTA News.
Focus, dedication and diligence have been identified as pivotal for improving educational standards and achieving academic excellence. These were the words of the wife of the Vice President, Dolapo Shibajo, while inaugurating additional blocks of classrooms at the Depoa Secondary School, Abuja. Olajide Bello has details.
To the glory of God and for our children. Thank you.
Describing qualitative education as the bedrock for sustainable growth and development, the wife of the Vice President, Dolapo Osinbajo, who stood in for Mrs. Aisha Buhari, said the faith will go a long way at boosting human capacity and producing a generation of Nigerians with high sense of discipline and integrity.
From the doors of this school, I pray, will proceed exceptional Nigerian children, trained and nurtured on the importance of these three values: focus, dedication and diligence.
She commended DEPOA for placing emphasis on child welfare and education, which she describes as in line with Mrs. Buhari's vision of the Get Involved initiative. Initiator and president of DEPOA, Omobolanle Olonishaki, says the project is part of the association's lined-up programs of adding value to the lives of women and children.
As an organization, we believe in ensuring that students of the school can compete with their counterparts, not only in Nigeria, but all over the world.
She lauded the contributions of the wife of the president, Mrs. Aisha Buhari, the vice president's wife, defense headquarters, and other stakeholders for making the dream come true. In Abuja, Olajide Bello, NTA News.
There are calls for attitudinal change, especially by the family unit, in molding good citizens for the good of the nation. This is the position of guests on NTA's Current Affairs program, Moment for Thought, stressing that the restoration of lost values is key to development.
Our values are overrated. We have left our cultural values that the core values of the Nigerians. We have left them, and our values are now overrated in such a way that we are living beyond our means.
Two things that are very lacking all over, either in the home or even in the school. We must teach accountability and responsibility. They are to be taught right from home.
The program comes up tonight at 10:30 on the network service of the NTA. In an effort to sustain mutual relations with the civil society, the Nigerian Army has organized a free medical outreach in Benue State. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa, who was at the St. Mary's Primary School venue of the program, reports that the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Chuku Buratai, was represented at the event by the Chief of Logistics.
Because most of us, we are unable to go to hospital, but since they come now, so we have to come since it is free something. I hope the government is trying, and the army also, they are doing well.
55-year-old Kemi Agua has been suffering from an eye problem for over 6 years. Courtesy of these free medical services, she and many others who are unable to foot medical bills for their treatments have benefited from the 3-day program that began on September 20th.
It's part of an outreach designed to further cement our relationship with the people that we serve.
The medical services involves presentation of free treated mosquito nets to women, eyeglasses, and deworming of children.
Well, for those whom we cannot treat, we're actually referring them to higher hospitals.
The program targets over 10,000 patients. The medical outreach, which is meant to commemorate the periodic Chief of Army Staff Conference, is also part of the Army's social responsibility to its immediate community. From Makudi in Benue State, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
Occupational injuries is the focus of the next report from our Lagos Network Center, and Ademola Adeoye is there to fill us in. It's always good to see you, Ademola. Good evening.
Good evening to you, Fumi, and welcome to Lagos. Identifying and understanding the imperatives of dispute resolution and compensation at workplace was the focus of a scientific conference on occupational injuries organized by the National Orthopedic Hospital, Igbobi, Lagos. Joy Ken Abakoya has the details.
Every day, thousands of workers encounter various degrees of hazards in the line of duty. They include physical and psychosocial injuries, as well as chemical and biological infections. In Nigeria, it is estimated that 25,000 people die yearly from complications arising from workplace injuries. Experts point out that a large number of injured workers are abandoned by their employers without appropriate compensation, which makes the situation worse.
Over the years, the pattern of injuries have kept changing. We want to create awareness on the fact that most of them are preventable.
This conference examined various angles of industrial hazards, such as workers' rights, workplace safety measures, legal issues, insurance packages, and treatment for injured workers.
A lot of the industries that employ casual laborers do not make provisions for their safety and do not train them adequately. And all these things can happen when there are no obligations to the laborers.
Guest Speaker Fred Nziako insists that occupational safety and health of workers are fundamental rights, and as such, employers must comply strictly to safety measures at all times.
The Occupational Safety and Health Bill, which has been lying around the National Assembly since the 7th National Assembly, has to be passed into law.
Resource persons advise employees to refuse unsafe work environment and report perceived hazards at the workplace. In Lagos, Joy Ken Abapuya, NTA News.
You're watching NTA Network News coming to you from Lagos Network Center. We take a break now for some messages, after which the news continues. Stay with us.
Guys, TGIF! 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 See you later! See you later! Bye-bye!
Now the real turn-up is online. Thank Glow, it's Friday. Now you can enjoy 3 GB for 500 Naira plus 100 Naira free talk time every weekend with the Glow Weekend Plan. Dial *777#.
Hello, Steve. Oh, not there now.
The largest data network, Glow, grandmasters of data.
This must be one of Mother Nature's greatest gifts. But there's something else it gives us. When we see such beauty, we want to share it with those we love. That's what LG wants you to see. Just what we see now, through our technology. LG OLED TV.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
5, 2, 1. Should I get yours?
Don't worry, I'll call you.
La pendule fait tic-tac, tic-tic. Les oiseaux du lac pic-pac, pic-pic. Glou, glou, glou font tous les dindons. Et la jolie cloche ding-ding-dong. Mais boum, quand on...
Hello? Hi. Yeah, it's me. How's it going?
Boom.
You're still watching NTA Network News, and we begin this segment with business news. Experts have re-emphasized the need to invest heavily in the agricultural and manufacturing sectors to revive the nation's economy. Details with Vivian Idepefo on Business News.
A warm welcome to the Business News segment. The Debt Management Office has released its latest data, which indicates an increase of about 4 trillion naira in the country's debt burden in the past 6 months. The data released Tuesday shows that Nigeria's debt profile rose from 12.6 trillion naira at the end of 2015 to about 16 trillion naira as at 30th June 2016. Total external debt stock by both states and federal governments stood at over 3 trillion naira, while domestic debt by the federal government stood at 10 trillion naira in the period under review. And as the nation continues to work its way out of the current economic challenge, experts advocate more proactive measures that will inject life into the economy. Dr. Anthony Christopher, in an interaction with NTA Business News, outlined the measures.
Strategic spending here, another example of strategic spending here, is to promote the local businesses in innovation so that LDI increases.
And now a quick check on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, where the equities closed on a negative note. The all-share index fell by 0.17%. And that's the size of this segment. The bulletin continues shortly.
And still on the nation's economy, President Muhammadu Buhari has again pleaded with development partners to support the rebuilding process in Nigeria by ensuring an immediate halt of illicit financial flow and return of all ill-gotten financial assets stashed in their countries. This was while addressing a high-level session of world leaders to commemorate the 30th anniversary of the Declaration on Corruption, as it contributes to the denial of the much-needed resources for national development. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has details.
The right to development was adopted by the United Nations in 1986 to not only promote social progress and better standards of life, but also achieve desired cooperation in solving international economic and other problems for development. Addressing the high-level commemorative event, President Muhammadu Buhari expressed the conviction that the right to development is a shared responsibility that must be promoted and protected like all other rights. He said in view of the negative effect of corruption to development, the United Nations must remain vocal and active in addressing the impact of non-repatriation of illicit financial assets on their countries of origin.
Illicit financial assets harbored abroad deprive developing countries, including Nigeria, and inevitably deny people the enjoyment of their national wealth and the resources required for development. As soon as stolen assets are legally established, they should swiftly be repatriated. Such collective reaffirmation will guarantee a stronger international defense of the right to development.
The president said Nigeria considers the right to development an inalienable right of fundamental importance, and strenuous efforts are being made to ensure that it remains at the center of all development initiatives.
As Nigeria continues to fulfill its obligation to its citizenry by advancing the inherent benefits of the right to development, I call on the United Nations to give more attention and take concerted action to support member states in championing the right to development and make extreme poverty history. Nigeria believes that fair distribution of developmental benefits must be given primacy by both national governments and the international community. That is why our government is committed to the entrenchment of an all-inclusive, nationally coordinated, sustainable development strategy.
Meanwhile, the president has signed the Paris Agreement on climate change, demonstrating Nigeria's commitment to the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions unconditionally by 20% and conditionally by 45%.
Today, Nigeria joins members of the international community in demonstrating its commitment to not only reducing greenhouse gas emissions, but also ensuring that global temperature rise is limited to well below 2 degrees Celsius. And we are confident that with support from development partners, Nigeria will meet these targets. Having signed the agreement, let me express my personal commitment to ensuring the ratification of this important treaty ahead of the 22nd Conference of Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, which will hold in Marrakesh, Morocco in November 2016.
The president expressed optimism that this global commitment and decisive plan of action on climate change will go a long way in bequeathing to the next generation a sustainable planet. From New York, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
We'll take another break now and we'll be back shortly.
The production, distribution, and sale of counterfeit and fake drugs is a corrupt practice and a crime against humanity. This has informed several measures and strategies to combat fake drugs, including introduction of anti-counterfeiting cutting-edge technologies to detect fake drugs on the spot. These technologies are being deployed to all the states across the Federation, as well as the internally displaced people's camps. The President, Muhammadu Buhari, and his team are committed to this fight.
The federal government of Nigeria, in line with its anti-corruption agenda and posture, will fight a total war against fake drugs and other unwholesome regulated products in order to ensure that Nigerians remain healthy and well.
Lend your support and join NAFDAC to rid the country of fake drugs and unwholesome regulated products. NAFDAC, safeguarding the health of the nation.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
And Manzi Marcus is next with Sports Update.
With less than 10 days to kick off of the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup in Jordan, head coach of Nigeria's Under-17 team, Bala Nkiyu, says the team is ready for the tournament.